My name is Grace Holloway, and I'm 33 years old. For the last 5 years, everyone I once knew believed I was dead, a ghost buried beneath a twisted wreck of steel and fire. But ghosts have a strange way of returning, especially when the living still owe them pain. 5 years ago, I had everything: a thriving business, a fiancé who said he adored me, and a future that looked golden. But I learned the hard way that sometimes the people who promise to protect you are the ones who light the match. His name was Nathan Cole, my business partner, my lover, my downfall. We built a tech startup together, Neuralink Systems, from a small garage to a multi-million-dollar company. We were unstoppable, or so I thought, until the night of the explosion. It was supposed to be a product launch party. Reporters, investors, champagne. But someone had tampered with the server room. When the fire broke out, the alarms failed. By the time the flames reached the main floor, panic had already taken over. I ran back to grab the data drive, the heart of our company, and that ES when the blast hit. I woke up days later in a remote clinic outside Boston. Half my face bandaged, my ribs cracked, and my name on a death certificate. Nathan had declared me dead. The news called it a tragic accident. But I knew the truth. He had orchestrated everything: the explosion, the insurance fraud, even the staged grief on national television. He took everything we built, rebranded it under his name, and sold it for billions. I was supposed to disappear. But instead, I watched. I waited. And I rebuilt. 5 years later. The woman in the mirror was not Grace Holloway anymore. Her name was Elena Cross, CEO of Cross Intelligence, a cybersecurity empire that quietly protected half of Silicon Valley's secrets. Grace had been too trusting. Elena was not. Elena knew how to disappear in plain sight. Darker hair, colder eyes, a voice that never trembled. I even taught myself a new accent, soft with European undertones. For 5 years, I studied Nathan, his company, his allies, his weaknesses. I learned who he manipulated, who he feared, who he trusted blindly. And then, I began to pull the strings. My first move was subtle: a silent acquisition of one of Nathan's major suppliers through a shell corporation, then another. Within 6 months, his production costs doubled. He blamed global inflation. Then I leaked a small story, a whisper in the right journalist's ear, about data breaches, unverified financials, potential insider trading. His investors began to flinch. Next, I made my entrance. Nathan's company, Coltech, was hosting a charity gala in Manhattan, the same venue where he once promised to marry me. He would be there, smiling under crystal chandeliers, surrounded by power and fame, and I would walk right back into his world. The ballroom gleamed like a cathedral of excess. Gold chandeliers, violins, and laughter that smelled like money. I walked in wearing a black satin gown, my hair pulled back, my mask delicate but sharp. When our eyes met across the room, his smile froze. For a second, I saw recognition flicker behind confusion. He approached, his glass trembling slightly. "Forgive me," he said with that same velvet tone. "But have we met before?" I smiled, slow, deliberate. "Perhaps in another life." "Elena Cross," I added, extending my hand. "Ah, Cross Intelligence," he said, relief washing over him. "I've heard the name. You've built quite the reputation." "So have you," I replied, tilting my head. "Though not all reputations age well." He laughed politely, unaware he was already standing in his own grave. Over the next few weeks, I became a constant presence. The investor he needed, the partner he couldn't read, the woman he couldn't quite place. Nathan loved control. I gave him the illusion of it, I let him invite me to dinners, pitch meetings, private negotiations. I smiled through every lie he told, memorizing every tell in his voice. And all the while, my people quietly infiltrated his systems, every contract, every deal, every digital key. He thought I was his salvation. I was his slow collapse. The night I took him down, Manhattan was drowning in rain. He called me to his penthouse, urgent, desperate. His investors were pulling out, his accounts frozen. The government was investigating financial irregularities he couldn't explain. "Elena," he said, voice shaking, "someone's trying to destroy me." I looked around the room that once felt like home. The view of the skyline, the shelves lined with trophies we'd once dreamed of together. "I'm sorry, Nathan," I said softly. "You built your empire on ashes, and now the wind's finally shifting." He turned, eyes wide. "What are you talking about?" I removed my gloves. He froze as he saw the scar on my left hand, the same one he once kissed after the fire. "Grace," he whispered, stepping back as if he'd seen a ghost. "Not quite," I said. "Grace died in that explosion. You killed her. I'm what you made instead." He dropped into a chair, shock draining the color from his face. "You don't understand," he stammered. "It wasn't supposed to happen that way. I had to protect the company." "You had to protect yourself," I interrupted. "You used me. You left me to burn so your name could live." His voice cracked. "I loved you." I laughed, the kind of laugh that comes after too much pain. "You loved power, Nathan. You just borrowed my heart to reach it." Silence. Only the rain against the glass. Then I slid a folder across the table. Documents, signatures, evidence. "Everything you did," I said, "is in here. Fraud, insurance manipulation, false testimony. Tomorrow morning, the world will know." He looked at the papers like they were poison. "You're destroying me." "No," I whispered. "I'm erasing you." He stood suddenly, rage overtaking fear. "You think you can play God?" I met his eyes. "No, Nathan. God forgives. I don't." For a moment he said nothing. Then his shoulders slumped. "So that's it? You ruin me, walk away, and feel nothing?" I walked to the window, watching the city lights reflect against the rain. "You ruined Grace Holloway. Elena Cross is just closing the book." He whispered behind me. "I deserve this." That was the last honest thing he ever said. 3 weeks later. Coltech collapsed overnight. Investigations, lawsuits, public disgrace. Everything he'd built crumbled under the weight of his lies. And me? I vanished again, this time on my own terms. I flew to the coast, bought a quiet house by the sea, and watched the world from a distance. One morning, a letter arrived. No return address. Just one sentence written in Nathan's hand. "You were right. I destroyed you to build myself. Now there's nothing left of either of us." I stood by the window, waves crashing against the shore, and felt the faint sting of a tear I hadn't allowed in years. Then I burned the letter, because some ghosts are better off as ash. The end. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Comment below which story you want to hear next. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.